Hi again then guys, and welcome back to Spirit of Le Mans. It's been quite a while since the last episode, but as I said in the previous episode, I would be bringing back this series when Polyphony adds the two new proposed Le Mans cars that were due to be added to the game. And today, of course, we have the first of these new cars, the Zytek-Nissan Z11S by Greaves Motorsport. You cannot buy this car in the dealership, which is a little odd. To win this car, you need to participate in the third GT Academy 2015 event. And it's worth winning, I would say. You don't need the gold to win this car, so you might as well do it, really. But this car, interestingly, it's the first LMP2 class car to be featured on Gran Turismo 6, but it does have significantly less power than all of the other prototypes, almost 100 horsepower less than what was previously the least powerful prototype in the game, the Toyota TS30. So, with a significant power disadvantage, how does this car compare to the other prototypes of this series? Well, let's go first of all to a city track and start to find out. So here we are, of course, on our first track type of the three, a city track at Monaco. So this car, as we mentioned, has significantly less power than all of the other prototypes. It weighs around the same as your average modern prototype, around 900 kilos, but that significant power disadvantage surely would make it significantly slower. Well, in a straight line, to be honest, it does. Now, for acceleration, it's definitely not bad, but I am going to have to give it a 3 out of 5 for acceleration, because although it's definitely not a slow car, it is significantly slower than most of the other prototypes, if not all of the other prototypes. For its low-speed handling, however, it is unsurprisingly very, very good, and for that I'm going to give it a strong 5 out of 5. For the brakes as well, I'm also going to give this LMP2 car a strong 5 out of 5, because the brakes are very, very good. For overall drivability as well, I have to say this car is excellent. So for drivability also, I'm going to give this car a strong 5. The default settings make it quite a challenging car, but with a little bit of tuning and a little bit of practice, it's a very good car to drive. So overall, for city tracks, I'm going to give it a 4, because it's very good, but it is a bit slower than some of the other prototypes. So now let's see how it performs on a technical circuit. Now, for a vehicle with significantly less power than all of its main rivals, this type of track could potentially be its undoing, because moderate speed technical tracks such as Ascari do require more straight line performance. So how does this car perform here? Well, actually, it performs really well. Now, I'm not going to say that it's as quick as its more powerful rivals, because it's not. But the main advantage with this car is actually the same as its disadvantage. And that is its lack of power. And the reason why that is both its advantage and disadvantage is because obviously it makes it slower on the straights, but it also makes it easier to drive, in a similar way to comparing a MotoGP motorcycle to a low-power road-going motorcycle. Many motorcycle riders will say that it is easier to drive a less powerful motorcycle at high speed than it is a powerful one. And it's likewise with this car. Because you have less power to deal with, and because the chassis of the car itself has less power to cope with, you can use more of that performance and take corners at phenomenal speeds. And the grip on this car is incredible. Now, for mid-range handling, unsurprisingly, I'm going to again give it a strong 5, because it is very, very good. And for this track type in general, a technical circuit, I am going to give it a 5, because this is the best place to use this kind of car. So now let's finally see how it handles a high-speed track. So here we are at our final track type of the three, a high-speed circuit at Spa. Interestingly, the same track where you have to drive this car in the Academy event. So how does the car perform here? Well, obviously its lack of power and straight line performance, especially top speed, does affect its overall lap. It is significantly slower than many of the other prototypes. But to be fair, it's running less than half the power of many of the other prototypes, and in some cases almost a third of the power of some of the prototypes. So for a car with such a disadvantage, it does actually perform very well. Now, for top speed tracks in general, I'm only going to give it a 3, for obvious reasons. If you take this car on Lasarte, for instance, you're not going to stand a chance, because regardless of what downforce setting and gear setup you run, you are not going to be able to keep up with, say, an Audi R10 or a Pascalo C60 hybrid. It's just not going to happen. But the handling does remain very, very good for high-speed corners. So again, for its high-speed handling, I am going to give it a strong 5, because its handling is excellent throughout its entire performance range, and the grip is just phenomenal. I would say it actually has the best grip of any of the prototypes in the game by far. It's, with the right setup, it's virtually impossible to wheel spin this car on a fast lap. So overall for top speed tracks, it's only a 3, but it still handles very well on high speed tracks. So that's it for our track-based testing of this vehicle. So now let's finally go back to the garage for a roundup of its best and worst point. So overall, this particular Zytek LMP2 car is a very good car. Now, obviously, and I think most of you guys would have known this before you even clicked on the video, its disadvantage is its straight line performance and lack of power, and unfortunately, for the moment anyway, there's nothing which we can do about that. We cannot upgrade the power. They're not letting us fit a bigger turbo to the car, which I was personally very disappointed by, because I was really hoping to turbocharge this car up to 600 or 700 horsepower, and I feel that if it did have that power, it would be a much better contender at being one of the best all-round prototypes in the game. Because if its top speed and mid-range and top-end acceleration could match its handling, braking and drivability, it would be one of the best prototypes in the game. Now, as it happens, this car is kind of a speciality car even within the prototype section, and the reason why I say that is because its PP, thanks to its lack of power, is significantly lower than all of the other prototypes. This car sits at not very much over 600 pp, whereas most of the top level prototypes fully tuned are running 700 or more. So this car, for its PP, actually has much less competition and far fewer serious rivals to take it on the track. So for the around 600 pp region, this car is extremely competitive. And considering its lack of power compared to its rivals, its lap times, when you compare them, are actually still very respectable. It's still a seriously quick car. Now overall, obviously its main downside is its straight line performance. It does over 220 miles per hour with a low aero setting, but that's still far slower than any of the other prototypes. And its acceleration, although certainly not slow, again does fall behind its rivals. Its best point, though, I would say, is purely the amount of grip that this car has, and by extension its drivability thanks to that grip. But the amount of sheer grip that this car has it's crazy. It's like you're driving on flypaper. It's mental. Like I said earlier on at Spa, it's almost impossible with a full downforce setting and the right suspension settings, it's virtually impossible to make this car slide out. It has that much grip. And overall, for tracks which are based more on cornering rather than straight lines, it is, excuse me, definitely a great car to choose and will serve you well on very tight, twisty tracks such as, say, Laguna Seca or Monaco or tracks like that. Tracks where the other prototypes with their improved top speed don't really get a chance to use that top speed. So if you're looking to use this car, as many people will be now because it's a brand new one, make sure you choose the right track. So as always, I'll put this car's ratings and lap times in the video description for you to compare it to the other Le Mans cars if you need to. And I'll see you guys at some point in the future, hopefully, when Polyphony adds what is probably going to be the last Le Mans prototype for Gran Turismo 6, the Nissan Nismo GTR LMP1 hybrid with its 1,000 horsepower or more. So really looking forward to that one. Hopefully they'll add it on GT6, and if they do, I'll see you then. But for this time, that's it, and as always, thanks for watching.